in interesting times. Today's stories. Israeli forces launch airstrike on Hamas and Islamic Jihad positions. 14,000 pancakes made in 8 hours, a Guinness record in Sarajevo. French court orders new probe in a Paris bombing case. Manitoban member of Legislative Assembly gives thanks to INC. INC members in Edmonton help save lives by donating blood. Plus, Toronto Raptors take on Portland Trail Blazers. A look back on retro gaming. This is Eagle News Canada, bringing you stories from around the globe. I am Arnie Aquino. Israeli forces launched airstrikes on Hamas and Islamic Jihad positions in Gaza, following a barrage of rocket attacks from Gaza into Israel late on Friday. Earlier in the day, 5 Palestinians were killed during clashes on the Israeli border in a flare-up which could jeopardize truce efforts. A barrage of rockets from Gaza hit Israel late Friday, the army said, hours after 5 Palestinians were killed during clashes on the Israeli border in a flare-up that could jeopardize truce efforts. The largest projectile attacks in months, which continued into Saturday, and the border fatalities came despite talks of progress towards an Egyptian-brokered deal to end months of often violent protests along the border. Israeli medics said even 7 civilians were being treated for shock. In response to the rockets, Israeli fighter jets and helicopters were striking terror targets in the Gaza Strip, the army said in a statement early Saturday. An army chief of staff, General Gadi Eisenkot, said a situation assessment at the military's Tel Aviv headquarters along with senior officials from the Shin Bet Internal Security Agency. The Israeli strikes hit 3 sites belonging to Hamas, the militant Islamist ruler of Gaza, with no immediate reports of injuries. Islamic Jihad, the second largest militant group in Gaza, hailed the rocket fire in a statement as a response to Israeli aggressions, stopping short, however, of directly claiming responsibility for the launches. A Hamas official said that following the escalation that Egypt was again seeking to negotiate a return to calm. Palestinians have gathered for protests along the Gaza Strip's border at least weekly since March 30th. At least 212 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire in Gaza since the protests began, according to figures collated by AFP. The majority have died during protests, while smaller numbers have been killed by airstrikes and tank fire. The protesters are calling to be allowed to return to lands their families fled or were expelled from in the 1948 war surrounding the creation of Israel and which are now inside the Jewish state. They are also protesting over Israel's crippling blockade of Gaza. Israel accuses Hamas of orchestrating the often violent demonstrations. Israel and Hamas have fought 3 wars since 2008, and much of the international community considers the Islamist movement a terrorist organization. The fresh violence could also scupper hopes of a deal to end the month of protest. Egypt and the United Nations have been brokering indirect negotiations between Hamas and Israel with the aim of calming the situation amid fears of another war. Several dozen cooks and apprentices in Sarajevo prepare more than 14,000 pancakes in 8 hours to beat the Guinness World Record set last year by their Moscow colleagues who had made over 12,700.
Danas obaramo Guinnessov rekord u pripremi najvećeg serviranja palačinaka, 13.000. Dosadašnji rekord je 12.761 palačinka, oborena u Moskvi 2017. 25. februara, a rekord je 12 ljudi, 140 ljudi je minimalno uključeno u ovaj projekat obaranja Guinnessovog rekorda. Znači imamo ljude na pripremanju mase, imamo ljude koji donose masu, imamo ljude koji peku palačinke, imamo ljude koji broje palačinke, imamo i...
Up next, French court orders new probe in a Paris bombing case. Manitoban member of Legislative Assembly gives thanks to INC. INC members in Edmonton help save lives by donating blood. Eagle News Canada will return in a moment. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Canada. A French court has ordered a new probe into evidence allegedly linking a Lebanese-Canadian academic to the 1980 deadly bombing of a Paris synagogue before deciding whether to put him on trial. A French court Friday ordered a new probe into evidence allegedly linking a Lebanese-Canadian academic to the 1980 deadly bombing of a Paris synagogue before deciding whether to put him on trial. The October 3, 1980 bombing of a synagogue on 24 Rue Copernic in Paris, which killed 4 people and injured 46, was the first fatal attack against Jews in France since the Nazi occupation in World War II. On Friday, the appeals court said it would grant an anti-terrorist investigating magistrate until February 15 to further analyze a handwritten hotel registration form, which prosecutors claim was filled out by Hassan Diab, the only identified suspect in the case. Diab, 64, was extradited from Canada to France in 2014, but then released earlier this year after French magistrates ruled evidence against him was not convincing enough to hold him. Prosecutors had appealed the decision, and the Paris court had been expected to decide on Friday whether to drop all charges or proceed with the trial. Prosecutors and defense lawyers have already long haggled over results of previous handwriting analysis carried out on 5 words left on a hotel registration form. The form was filled out in the name of Alexander Panadriou, who investigators believe was a false identity used by Diab, who is currently living in Canada. Diab has always denied involvement, saying he was taking exams in Beirut at the time of the bombing. Diab, a former professor of sociology at Ottawa University, was accused of planting the bomb inside the saddlebag of a motorbike parked outside the packed synagogue close to the Champs-Élysées, where hundreds of people had gathered for Sabbath prayers. Evidence presented against him also included a sketch of the bomber, which resembles Diab, and the discovery of a passport in his name with entry and exit stamps from Spain, where the bomber is believed to have fled. There were also testimonies from witnesses that Diab was a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine at the time of the bombing. In Manitoba, a member of the Legislative Assembly, Cindy Lamoureux, expresses her gratitude to the Iglesia Ni Cristo for its humanitarian efforts.
Less than a month after its Aid for Humanity events in Winnipeg, Canada, the Church of Christ was recognized in the chamber of the Legislative Building and received an appreciation for all its services it had offered to the province. The Church of Christ was recognized today by a member's statement in which a member of the House expresses his or her appreciation of an individual or a group for their contribution or service to the people of Manitoba. Member of Legislative Assembly Cindy Lamoureux of Burroughs recalls some of the aid efforts, events, and services rendered by the Church of Christ.
The Honourable Member for Burroughs.
An organization that is so huge that they are established in 147 countries, including here in Canada. The Iglesia Ni Cristo, INC, is a committed group of individuals who have decided to fulfill their pledge in extending help through aid and services, promoting education, socioeconomic well-being, environmental awareness, and health improvement. They do this through partnering up with local governments, community establishments, Aid for Humanity programs, and through Christian family organizations of the Church of Christ. Over the last couple of years, I, along with my colleague from Kiiwetinoong, have had the honor to participate in INC's events. I'd like to tell you about a few of these events. The first being the Worldwide Walk to Fight Poverty. This event occurred simultaneously in 44 countries across 18 time zones on May 5th. 1,140 Manitobans joined the walk, which happened right here on our legislative grounds. More recently, last month on September 28th, INC held an event in the north end of our city where over 3,000 care packages that they prepared were handed out to nearby residents, clients of local shelters, and those who may be homeless. The care INC provides extends across Manitoba. For example, when there was a shortage for blood donations this past summer, INC assisted in the Canada-wide blood donation drive. And when there was a need for evacuees of Garden Hill and St. Teresa Point during last year's forest fire, they fed Manitobans who were arriving by air from affected areas. Madam Speaker, in closing, it is organizations like INC and individuals like the 9 who have joined us in the gallery today, one all the way from Toronto, that are the embodiment of hope. They work to serve others, and I am hoping that today my colleagues will join me in showing appreciation to INC's service to our province. Thank you.
In her message, Lamra emphasized how the Iglesia Ni Cristo fulfills its pledge to the community through aid efforts, free services, and promoting education, socioeconomic well-being, environmental awareness, and health improvement.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to come out to lots of events that have been put on by the Church of Christ and members of the group, and it truly is inspiring. And I talked about this in one of my prior interviews, just how uplifted I feel every single time, and I want to be able to bring that hope here into the Manitoba Legislative Building. So I'm hoping by making a statement today on it, it will expose the Church of Christ to more members of the Legislative.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo works hand in hand with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation in reaching out to people in impoverished areas and those affected by calamities. The efforts of these organizations have not gone unnoticed, as clearly proven by today's event. Reporting for Eagle News from Central Canada, I am Kathleen May Pangan, 1 with 25.
Iglesia Ni Cristo members in Edmonton help save lives by donating blood. Eagle News correspondent Thomas Likeness reports.
Members of the Edmonton local of the Church of Christ rolled up their sleeves and went to work saving lives as they took part in a blood donor clinic in the Alberta capital. For several months now, various congregations of the church have partnered with Canadian Blood Services to help rebuild blood stocks. Not only is blood needed to treat traumatic injuries, but is also required in surgeries, and some illnesses are treated with various blood components. All of this creates a big demand for blood, and this is where Church of Christ members step up to help out. For member Nicholas Schaus, this was his first trip to the blood donor clinic.
Now's the time to look away if you don't want to see the needle.
And how did he feel about this experience?
Well, I was a little anxious because, of course, it's my first time donating, and I won't deny it, I'm not the greatest with needles, but, you know, it's very comfortable, and like I said, I'm all relaxed now. Again, when they put the needle in me, though, I had to turn away.
Schaus was particularly struck by the fact that the unit of blood that he donated could save up to 3 lives.
This is important to do. I mean, I've always kind of believed in it, but I never really had a reason to do it. But you know, I think everybody should do it because it's, you know, you can help not save just one, but as I was told, up to 3 lives, and it's a duty and an honor to do this.
Brother Emin Espanol, a Church of Christ minister, says it's the duty of all church members to help others.
This is our spirit as members of the Church of Christ, to help the other people and to donate blood. This is the sign of life for other people.
Another minister, Brother Erwin McTallis, says it's a great feeling to know that taking a bit of time to give blood can save a life.
Even though we do not know them, but being members of the Church of Christ, that is our trait. That is our characteristics.
Members have been encouraged to continue on as donors. Activities such as today's blood donation are part of the Church of Christ's community activities, serving both members and non-members alike. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Thomas. Coming up, a look back at the NBA match between the Raptors and Portland, and Retro Gaming Look Back. Eagle News Canada will return shortly. is Eagle News Canada. I am Arnie Aquino. Jason Manawis takes us to Rogers Arena as the Toronto Raptors take on the Portland Trail Blazers.
We are here at Rogers Arena for the NBA Canada Series. Today, Vancouver NBA fans were treated to some NBA action with the Toronto Raptors playing against the Portland Trail Blazers. Canada's lone NBA team defeated the Trail Blazers 122-104 for a preseason matchup that featured some of the league's biggest stars. The game was the first stop of the Canada Series that has the Raptors traveling to different parts of Canada for preseason action. It was clear from the tip-off Vancouver fans were eager to see the newest addition to the Raptors, NBA champion, Finals MVP, and two-time Defensive Player of the Year Kawhi Leonard. Leonard wasted no time being aggressive from the start of the game, and every time he made a shot or even touched the ball, Vancouver fans made sure to make him feel welcome to the North.
What do you think of the support that the Canadian fans gave to you?
It was great. They came out, showed support to both teams. Energy was there. They were into the game.
Even though Leonard has not played a game since January, the two-time All-Star showed spurts during the game that he was not afraid of taking contact and would be ready for the course of a long NBA season. Leonard finished with 12 points and 3 assists.
Didn't feel like it was, hard fouls. Just a normal NBA game to me.
Raptors coach Nick Nurse said it felt different coaching his first NBA game as head coach. However, the former D-League Coach of the Year appreciated the energy the home crowd gave both teams.
Well, I think I'm always surprised a little bit by things when we come out here. Like, the crowd is big and energized, and it always seems to give everybody a little bit more spring and fight, both teams. But, I think, again, he was just playing off instincts a little bit, and, he saw some gaps, and he took them, and they came pretty hard on some of the stuff they did, and he bounced right back up.
The game was close at half, with the Raptors leading only by 7 points. But the edge that gave the Raptors the win was their bench, which once again looks like one of the league's best second units, with players such as Fred VanVleet and Jonas Valanciunas having major contributions.
That's the goal, is to get good looks for our offense, and especially in transition and playing off of stops, getting a defensive rebound, and I'll spray it ahead to Pascal, or he'll bring it himself. And that's a good thing about this team. We got guys that are unselfish, and everybody can create and look for each other.
Raptors guard Kyle Lowry also had a solid game, finishing with 15 points. After the game, he answered questions on how it's been playing with Kawhi.
Yeah, of course. I think it's just going to take, on court minutes, getting experience together, going out there and playing, and getting a feel for the overall team, the overall game that he likes to play, and the pace. We played a really good pace tonight, so it was a fun game. It's good to get out there and compete against other teams.
Canada's lone basketball team will look to carry their momentum to Salt Lake City as they take on the Utah Jazz on Tuesday. For the Blazers, their next game will be at Phoenix against the Suns. From the Rogers Arena here in Vancouver, BC, I'm Jason Manawis. I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Jason. Now here's Ann Salmerano to bring us back to retro gaming. Let's take a look.
Do you remember playing Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, or Street Fighter on your Nintendo or PlayStation? The Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo takes you back to your video gaming days. The event, organized by Brian Hughes of Game Deal Video Games, was held at the Anvil Centre of New Westminster, British Columbia, Canada. Players had a chance to compete in 15 tournaments, plus an opportunity to experience a free-play gaming section with 30 different games. A number of collectible games were on sale. According to Hughes, the event has expanded over the years and more families are coming in with their kids. He said it's a celebration of retro gaming. The event is expected to be bigger next year, so keep an eye out for tickets. Reporting for Eagle News, I am Ann Salmerano, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Anne. That is this week's Eagle News Canada. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Arnie Aquino. I am 1 with 25.